This thing is like the rug in The Big Lebowski. It really ties the room together. Hi, I'm Lauren Bregetzer, the audio professor, and this is another video in the series where I'm testing out and reviewing every single plugin subscription bundle I can find and mixing a song completely with those plugins. If you want to catch all of these, make sure to like and subscribe as I'll be adding a new one every week until I run out of ones to try. To start off, I've been a big fan of SSL consoles for years. It was one of the first consoles I learned on at Berkeley and one of the consoles I teach on at the university. However, I've never tried their plugins. I've used both licensed and unlicensed emulations by third parties like Waves, Brainworks, and Slate Digital, but I've never had the chance to try them until now with their subscription bundle. To start off, SSL is at its heart an analog company. They've been doing this for over 4 decades, so I'm hoping they translate that analog console sound into their plugins. I'm going to start off with the Channelstrip 2. This is the classic SSL sound. It models both the G and E series EQs, which you can toggle with just the push of a button. I was really happy with the way this genuine and updated SSL Channelstrip sounds. It sounds like I'm really using an actual console. The sidechain section of this Channelstrip is a welcome addition to the classic SSL Channelstrip. It allows you to sidechain from an external bus, the EQ, or the filter. You can even use any combination of the three. You can have an external source with both the filters and the EQ engaged across it. This could be very handy in certain situations. I went straight to trying out the Drumstrip for my snare drum. This is an interesting but very useful device. There isn't the standard EQ, instead you have these low and high frequency enhancer sections. These are perfect for the snare drum, as I usually boost the body and the attack of the snare. It also has some drive to add some coloration. You can combine the Drumstrip with an EQ if you need the ability to cut frequencies. I found the gate to be quite effective with minimal false triggers. It even has an open and close setting to fine-tune the contour of the gate. I especially like the addition of the Listen Mic compressor. This is the perfect compressor to crush the sound and then dial in only like 25% of that crushed sound to give the snare drum more body. I always love a Transient Shaper, and this one is more customizable than most. Typically I like to put it at the end of my signal chain. This is where this Drumstrip really impressed me. I had the ability to manually adjust the signal flow between all of the modules. The only thing I was really wanting to do with this Drumstrip was the ability to sidechain an external input to the gate. This is something you can do with the regular Channelstrip 2, but not with the Drumstrip. The XEQ I found to be incredibly versatile. Using it, if you've used the FabFilter Pro Q3, then you'll be familiar with its interface. Just double click to add bands you need, and then you can select from any standard EQ style. In addition, just like FabFilter, you can set a particular band to EQ one side of a left or right signal. So if you have a stereo signal, you can EQ just the left side if you want. Additionally, there are several different filter shapes. I'll need to spend some time exploring how each of these sound, but overall I was very impressed with the functionality and the musicality of this EQ. One feature that I wish it had would be a before and after FFT visualization of the EQ like there is on the FabFilter Pro Q3. The SSL bundle comes with 2 different Harmonic Distortion plugins, the first of which I tried was the X-Saturator. This device will model tube-style distortion or a transistor-style distortion, whether or not you select the second or third order harmonics or anywhere in between. This plugin can be as subtle or as aggressive as you want, which is something that's usually hard to find in a plugin. Most of the time they always overdo it. I also play with the Fusion Vintage Drive plugin, which is modeled after their Vintage Drive hardware. This is another one that can be subtle or aggressive. I was able to make a nice growling bass sound, but it's also subtle enough that you can place it across a master bus to add a nice analog richness to your entire mix, which I'm looking forward to trying when I'm mastering a track on SSL plugins. I use the X valve comp on a number of tracks. This thing does valve, or tube as us Yankees say. This does that right. It adds a nice warmth to the sound, and you can toggle it on and off, which is helpful to hear what it's actually doing to the sound. It also has a feature that I've never seen on a compressor. It has a hold button, similar to a hold button on a gate. Either way, this thing sounds great, particularly on bass. The Vocalstrip 2 is a powerful and fantastic sounding plugin. I'll have to do a deeper review on that here in the future before my subscription expires. It will have most of what you want in a vocal channel. Sometimes I'm skeptical with these all-in-one channel strips, but if they're done right, they can be quite powerful in that they're tuned specifically for vocals. There's the standard compressor expander, a de-esser, a deploser to get rid of P's and B pops, as well as rumble. Again, you can place the effects in any order you want. I adjusted mine to have the de-esser after the compressor, which is usually where I put it. The only thing that I found that I was really wanting more of was that the EQ just has a narrowband and wideband semi-parametric EQs, along with a high-pass filter. I was wanting just one more band, maybe a fully parametric band to place on this vocal channel. Obviously, the easy workaround is placing an X EQ before the Vocalstrip 2, which is what I did. Now there is a magic button here on the Vocalstrip, Drive. This button adds a beautiful harmonic distortion to the vocal, which gives it a richer, more analog sound. I added the X echo to the vocal. I originally found it to be overly bright and washy, but this turns out to be a result of the default preset. Once I toned down the diffusion, it gave me a better starting point. It turns out that this is one of my favorite delay plugins I've found. This is designed to be a tape delay emulation, so if you want a straight delay, a stock plugin may be your best bet, but if you want something that's interesting with a lot of potential color to add, check this thing out. It has 4 tape heads that you can set to be multiples of one single delay. The saturation adds a nice color, and the de-esser makes it great on vocals. One thing I'd recommend if you use this is to start with the diffusion turned all the way down. This makes it easier to create the delay that you want, and then bring the diffusion up to a point that works for you. My only real complaint with this plugin is the default preset. It initially can be off-putting. It's not a good starting point for building a delay in my opinion. Next up is the FlexVerb Reverb plugin. This is the only real plugin here that I have any sort of hesitancy. The reason being is that some of the algorithms seem to not be balanced from the left and right channels. The chamber algorithm moves from right to left in a slightly distracting way. Adjusting the diffusion didn't help at all. However, the plate algorithm I used on the vocals sounded great. Aside from this issue, there are a lot of great features of this plugin. The algorithms sound nice for the most part. They're easy to customize. This plugin probably has the best EQ I've ever heard on Reverb. It has several bands and they're easy to adjust. With other reverbs, I just wind up throwing on an FabFilter Pro Q3 at the end of my regular reverb, and then I adjust that because that's easier than whatever built-in EQ there is. With this plugin, I wouldn't have to do that. And my personal favorite feature on here, the compressor. I love compressing my reverbs, and to have an SSL compressor on the back end is great. Plus, it's super easy to use. It gives you a drop-down menu of 3 ratios with 3 different speeds each. And now on to everybody's favorite, the Bus Compressor 2. This is the legend. This thing is like the rug in The Big Lebowski. It really ties the room together. I dropped one across the drum bus to tighten it up, and I dropped another one across the mix bus. The nice thing about the Bus Compressor 2 is that it has an optional 4x oversampling, which will minimize distortion at high frequencies. So other things I liked about these plugins. The metering. When you wind up clipping the signal on the output of a plugin, which is easy to adjust on all the channels, the meter doesn't light up like a Christmas tree. It just turns reddish and then fades away once you make adjustments to the gain. Another thing I liked is that each plugin has 2 plugin settings you can set, an A and a B. You can test out different settings and then compare the final result back to back. This is helpful with complex plugins like these. One thing you can do with this is dial in your own settings on the A, then call up a good preset on the B, and then toggle back and forth. This is great to use to compare your sounds to professional engineers, or maybe learn some things or make adjustments to your own settings. My overall impression of these plugins is that SSL is one of the few companies that make plugins that truly sound like a mixing with an analog console, the other one being Plugin Alliance. Things I thought that could be improved? Mostly minor things that I've already mentioned, just as side chaining on all gates. I like more stereo options with the delay and things like that. I like to see an easier access to the documentation for each plugin. When I was looking up each one, there's one PDF for most of the plugins, and then 2 separate ones for the other 2 plugins. I like to be able to hit a button and read about the plugin from within the plugin itself, like Plugin Alliance does. So who's the target audience for these plugins? Audio professionals who want an analog console sound. Those who are familiar with SSL channels. These would be great for any style of pop music, rock, pop, hip-hop, R&B, EDM, anything along those lines. But can an entire song be mixed with only these plugins? Absolutely. The only things that I would use that aren't in here would be like a pitch correction plugin, as well as any truly digital processing like pitch shifting, that kind of thing. Of course, that makes sense given that these are really a suite of analog plugins. Do I think this bundle is a good value? At a month-to-month cost of $25, which drops down to $15 a month with an annual commitment, it's on par with other plugin companies like Slate Digital. Some may offer more plugins, but few have as many high-quality analog-sounding plugins. I actually enjoyed using these plugins so much, I'm considering buying the SSL dedicated control surface for them. I hope you found my analysis of SSL plugins useful, and stay tuned for my next video where I try to see if I can master with these plugins. Thanks for watching, and have fun making music.